Xin Lan admitted that she had never failed in her life, but she frowned when she looked at the display screen showing the mission failure in front of her. How could I fail? What do you mean? Lingju weakly dragged her tired body out from behind her and leaned on the sofa. 9. I think I did a good job. Host, don't talk to me, let me slow down. 09 pushed his own glasses frame and began to sort out the data of this mission. She has led the host for 2 terms, and Xin Lan is the third she has led, causing her to encounter the biggest impact in the history of Tongsheng. Xin Lan was transferred to the department. I heard that there were too many people in the villain department before. As an excellent employee, Xin Lan was transferred to their face treatment department. 09 took over and took her into the first world enthusiastically, and was popped up within a day, indicating that the mission had failed. Her whole system is sluggish. It's not that Xin Lan didn't do a good job, but it was too stunned. Host, shall we be gentle next time? I think what I did is in line with the department's mission and mission requirements, but I didn't expect the garbage to be so fragile. Xin Lan also sat on the sofa and said helplessly. The purpose of the face-slashing department is to make the scum cry and kneel down, and let all those who look down on the original owner kneel down and sing conquest. The first world Xin Lan went to was a city. His identity was a victim who was bullied by her natal family and her boss was bullied by her colleagues. The task was to counterattack, get rid of the scumbag, let him kneel down and confess his mistake, and then walk on. The pinnacle of life. 09 felt that according to Xin Lan's fierce combat effectiveness, this task was trivial, but he did not expect Xin Lan to be too fierce. As soon as Xin Lan passed through, the original owner was suffering from domestic violence and was scarred. Xin Lan removed the legs of the wooden chair with her bare hands, knocked on the door with a wooden stick, and beat the scumbag. The scumbag wanted to fight back, but couldn't fight it. His counterattack made Xin Lan angry again, so Xin Lan locked him in the room and beat him for a long time, removed his chin, twisted his arms, and made the dregs kneel down and cry bitterly, saying that she would definitely not have domestic violence in the future. Xin Lan ignored him, remembering that this scumbag had raped and cheated in marriage, so he just abolished the scumbag's brother and walked away. 0 and 9 were trembling with fright by Xin Lan, squatting in circles in the system space. After Xin Lan finished all these things, she leisurely went to the kitchen to wash her hands and cooked dinner for herself. While eating, she asked her if part of her mission was completed, and Chi-Ju thought so. After all, she had already made the scumbag kneel down and cry, although the means were different from what she thought. 1 person, 1 system totaled, and I think it should be. Xin Lan finished eating and took the money to go to the hospital. She was bruised now, her face was wounded, and the blood on her forehead had been dried. She was only killed when the original owner passed through. Xin Lan was sitting in the taxi, and felt that she was lighter. After all, the beast killed the original owner himself. After refusing to call the police from the taxi driver and the hospital doctor, Xin Lan went home with gauze. When I came back, I saw a group of people around. She was a scum husband who had just been beaten up by her and killed herself by jumping off the building. But the mission was not completed. She and Lingju were ejected from the mission world, and the mission failed. This was only a few hours in total. The memories of 09 are over, and the eyes are full of vicissitudes. This may be the world where her mission failed the fastest. The host's style of painting is too strange. Host, I will carefully screen the next world for you, please rest first. Xin Lan nodded, went back to her room, and fell on the bed. The old boss sent a newsletter asking her how she feels about her new job. Xin Lan said the matter depressedly, and got a bunch of ha 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 ha. Sister Lan, no, Lord Lan, you are the only one who thinks that. Smile, why call me over, I was very happy originally. Xin Lan was acting as her own happy villain, not to mention too happy, but suddenly she failed her mission with an order. This is simply a stain in the mission history. Will you change your mood? Come on. For fear that Xin Lan would ask again, Biou cut off the communication after speaking. Almost all departments know that most of the villains are lunatics. Xin Lan is a lunatic among lunatics. All the villains came with her at her fingertips, and she hasn't failed since doing the task. The villain can oppress the protagonist, but it will definitely fail, but many questers will be very upset, and some even kill the protagonist, so that the mission fails. But Xin Lan hadn't had it, she was dead and clean, and she didn't relent in killing herself. This is the most terrifying. In terms of seniority, Xin Lan could be the head of the villains department a long time ago, but she was not interested in these and ran into the mission every day. Biou was afraid that someday Xin Lan's mission was unclear, or she would wipe her neck if she became bored. When I heard that there was no one on the face, I transferred the person to him. She might be impatient to let Xin Lan fall in love, but this kind of face slap task is very good. Xin Lan has been a villain for so long and should be the protagonist. Maybe she can still fall in love during the mission. Xin Lan didn't know what Biou was thinking, stretched out on the bed, and stared in a daze. Without knowing it, there was sleepiness. Perhaps it was a failure that had never happened before, which made her dream a long-lost dream. She was in the vast sea of stars, smoke and gunfire filled her whole body. General Xin Lan, we are surrounded. The soldier had a sad expression. Where is the vanguard fleet? All out. General, you go first, we can support it for a while. I can't go. Vanguard can't be completely wiped out so quickly, he definitely has a betrayal. General, the right wing has been hit hard. Someone hurried over and interrupted her. Where is the main cruiser? It's gone. What? The soldier exclaimed. But I miscalculated, notify the control room and move forward at full speed. But ahead is the enemy main ship. Rush over. Yes. God bless the Empire. The roar of artillery fire almost made people deaf. Xin Lan put on the mech and rushed into the star sea. The splendid fire illuminates the large starry sky and casts the glory of blood and tears. Xin Lan suddenly opened his eyes, wiped the sweat from his forehead, took out a cigarette from the cigarette case, bit it in his mouth but did not light it. She put the cigarette aside and walked into the bathroom. The mirror showed a beautiful face, very aggressive, but his eyes were full of dark colors, like roses blooming in the dark. Xin Lan washed her face, wiped the water droplets off her face with a towel, and sighed almost inaudibly. She has been here for a long time since she died in battle. For a long time, she can't remember how many missions she has done, how many protagonists have bullied, and how many protagonists have been killed. Some villains are naturally rebellious, deviant and antisocial personality, while others are forced by life and become blackened step by step. Xin Lan has done everything. But after coming out of the mission world, she will wash away those emotions and memories. She just wants to be herself. But her character is inevitably affected. She is already competitive, so she is even more combative. Seeing the protagonist Xiao Qiang who couldn't be killed no matter how many fights, she didn't expect that the scumbag in the first mission of the new department was so fragile and would commit suicide in a small matter. She was too distracted to count. Xin Lan looks down on people who find this kind of domestic violence on others, and it's not a pity to die 10,000 times. She opened the door, and Lingju was eating potato chips on the sofa while looking for information. The host and the system are in a binding relationship and live together. Xin Lan's last system was a ball, always rolling around and acting like a baby. This time the system looks like a dead house girl, with a bunch of dull hair on her head, wearing black rimmed glasses, long black hair, and her personality. It's interesting. If it hadn't been for her toes to be charged in a special plug board, Xin Lan would think she was a living person. Does the host want some cucumber flavor? 09 raised the bag of potato chips, stuffed one hand into her mouth, and made a clicking sound. Xin Lan took it, and clicked together. Yes, choose this for the new task, the host should like it. 09's eyes lit up, and the numbers flashed in his eyes, as if he had seen something. Ex-girlfriend series mission. 09 prolonged her voice and turned to look at Xin Lan. Does the host mind the status of an ex-girlfriend? What am I going to deal with? Ex-boyfriends, but their status is not the same as the first task, they usually have a higher status. That's the protagonist. No, you are the protagonist, they are the villain. 09 corrected. Such. Xin Lan raised her eyebrows and showed an interesting smile. They must be very resistant. Stop your dangerous thoughts. 09 remembered the fear of being dominated. Then how should I complete the task more appropriate? Xin Lan was lost in thought. Kick him down, be the boss by yourself, let him kneel and sing conquer. Literal meaning. That's how I describe it. 09 waved her hand, afraid that the host would really beat him up again. I know, this time I'll take my measure. Xin Lan nodded, and Lingzhu accepted the task, quickly finished eating the potato chips, took a sip of ice cola, wiped his mouth and hands with paper, and took Xin Lan into the task world. The windows are bright and clean, and the sound of the books is loud. Xin Lan looked at the textbook in front of him and blinked. A beautiful campus world? 9. After the data has been loaded, the get out of class will be over soon, and the host will hurry up and get ready. Xin Lan read the world background and the memory of the original owner, and recalled the beautiful sentence just now. The sun was approaching dusk, and she glanced at the expressions of the students around her. Although everyone was reading a book, their expressions were stiff. Look carefully, and some were shaking. A campus schedule is posted on the desk. 8:009:00, Discussion 9:0011:30, Class 11:302:00, Rest 2:005:00, Class 5:007:30, Rest 7:30:12:00. Hunting. The last two characters were circled with red pen, full of indeterminate meaning. The 400 students originally on the campus were inexplicably involved in the campus space of another dimension, and at the same time the rules appeared in their minds. 1. There are a total of 400 people on campus, each with a clue. 2. Collect 50 clues to get the key to go out. Note that the clues must match, and the clues that cannot be connected are invalid clues. 3.400 people can freely form a team of 5 or less, and the team can be changed at any time. 4. Kill one person every night, clues can be given to others according to their will. 5. If prey dies during legal hunting, the entry is invalid. 6. Those who take measures during non-hunting period shall be obliterated at first. Some people were stunned, some were scared, some were screaming, and a group of people ran to the door like crazy, but they couldn't get to the school door. At the same time, the campus time schedule appeared on everyone's desks. The teacher goes to class normally. No matter how the classmates quarrel and anger, they are also talking about their class. No matter how they question, they only have a smile. They are obviously familiar people, but they make people feel cold behind their backs. Xin Lan learned from the memory of the original owner that today is the second day she came here. Someone lost control of their emotions in class yesterday and was punished for a class. It was not a simple punishment station, but forced to lie in a coffin that appeared out of thin air, as if stuck inside, a black coffin. It feels so terrifying that no one dares to make a second time. Because yesterday was the first day, everyone was cautiously watching. As the rules said, one person died. Where is his clue? Everyone has guessed but no one said. With only 399 people left on the campus, everyone has a ghost in their hearts. A classmate who was originally familiar has also become unfamiliar. No one wants to die, but only 5 or fewer people can survive. In the reasonable discussion time of today's morning reading, everyone quickly hugs each other. After all, everyone feels that there is a lot of people and power. In this case, it is too unfavorable to go to the list. Xin Lan, it's interesting. If I kill 398 people by myself and destroy them, wouldn't it be clues to let me choose? After all, the rules have reminded that some of the clues are invalid. Who can guarantee that the 50 clues he gets can be connected in series, so he must get more than 50 clues. This is like a huge hunting ground and slaughterhouse, forcing people to kill each other. 09, host, calm down. 09, do you remember what our mission is? Xin Lan, ex-boyfriend. 9, yes. Abuse him. Our task is to abuse him, not to go out. Don't forget it. Lingju was really afraid that her host would go wrong again. Although she seemed to be joking, she really believed that she could kill everyone so frantically. Xin Lan began to sort out the memory of the original owner and sort out social relations. The original owner was also named Xin Lan, a student in the 2nd and 3rd class of high school, and she was beautiful in appearance, and she was a well-deserved class flower. The ex-boyfriend is a school bully in the 1st class, with good grades, fierce fighting and rebellious bad boy, but his grades are good. The original owner met him and talked for a month. The original owner was naturally enamored, but the ex-boyfriend was just playing and dumped her after a month. The original owner asked sadly, but got disgusting words. You look so demon, and your body is so spicy. I don't know how many people have played with me. I don't know how many people have you dumped. Why do you pretend to be pure with me? It's just for fun, are you serious? As a result, his girlfriend becomes an ex-girlfriend. Xin Lan, send me about the follow-up plot. 09 immediately passed the plot to Xin Lan. From this follow-up, Xin Lan saw a new woman who was called Swibahao for the time being. Swiba is the number 1 in the class, a well-deserved talented girl. In such a strange world, of course, we need to find smart people to team up, so my ex-boyfriend finds a schoolmaster. Swiba took into account the military power of his ex-boyfriend, and formed a team with him, and started a strong alliance. The two continue to work together until they cooperate with each other, and the schoolmaster begins to pursue love in a dangerous world. Swiba is smart and handsome, and his ex-boyfriend has long been interesting to her, but Swiba's appearance of not falling in love has kept him out of action. In this strange space, he fought hard to protect himself, from time to time love words, and finally succeeded in catching up straight A student. In the end, the two leading teams collected enough clues to successfully leave the school gate. As for the original owner, a beautiful woman who fights against the 5 scums, was raped first and then killed for clues. When she was struggling, her ex-boyfriend saw her by the side and walked indifferently. If Xin Lan saw that the original owner was dumped in front of him, it was only a slight discomfort. It could only be said that it was unsatisfactory when he met others, but when he saw the ending of the original owner, he felt unhappy. Xin Lan, the person who killed the original owner will tell me then. 09, okay, and the host. After that person killed the original owner, the scumbag snatched that person again and took 2 clues at once. Excessive. Xin Lan's pen rolled between her fingers, and her slightly messy hair covered the coldness on her face. 9, host. You must never let him go. Read it. I have a strategy here, the green hat seduce heartthrob Shura Field, everything you want, whatever you want. Xin Lan, can I grab a master? 09, what? Xin Lan, rob his woman. 9. The script is not written like this, which does not conform to the routine. Xin Lan, can't it? Don't you mean torture your heart? Didn't he pursue love? I just let him have no love. Xin Lan, if not, then I will insult him, abuse him, threaten him, imprison him, torture him. 09. Let's discuss how to grab his woman. Juju shivered, remembering the scumbag who was labeled as a dog screaming in the room for the first mission, thinking that the conventional strategy might not work for her host, or it was unconventional. Breaking off the wings of love from the ex-boyfriend of the scum, let him regret it. In theory, very good. Xin Lan didn't discuss with 09, because the bell rang after class. The teacher walked out of the classroom very punctually, not at all procrastinating, and the neat movements made the teachers who love to talk about another minute to be ashamed. All the sounds stopped, like a pantomime. In non-discussion time, it is not allowed to say that there are tactics, otherwise it will be muted. This is also the lesson that someone used to leave to everyone yesterday. Someone walked out of the classroom first, and then everyone walked out sparsely, not at all positive. Let's go. Someone knocked on Xin Lan's desk. It was a boy with glasses. This is the captain of the original main team. The original owner wanted to find his ex-boyfriend, but he looked at him contemptuously and returned angrily. There are 40 seats in a class, and 400 people are divided into 10 classes. Xin Lan and her ex-boyfriend and Swiba are not in the same class. This person can be mobile, but very few people cross group teams, unless they are familiar and well-connected, or want to hold their thighs. Xin Lan nodded and followed the boy. Xin Lan's team hasn't exchanged clues with each other. I don't know if it's because of the lack of time in the morning or their respective guards, but for Xin Lan, this is good news. If you have a clue, you can become a prey at any time, but if you don't have a clue, you can only wait for death. How do I feel that you are a little different? The boy pushed his glasses and said thoughtfully. Why is it different? It feels like I suddenly calmed down a lot. It's already like this, there is no way you can't calm down. Xin Lan twitched the corners of her mouth, showing a perfunctory smile. The boys thought so, and didn't ask any more. People walking in 2s and 3s walked on the way to the cafeteria. Except for some people talking, most of them were silent. Xin Lan put her hand in the pocket of her school uniform, holding clues to the original owner in her hand. At the very beginning, the original owner saw a piece of paper. The clue on it was under the first sink in the toilet on the 3rd floor of the girls' dormitory. The original owner got his clue according to the above. A piece of something similar to a fragment of a map. Xin Lan let go of her clenched hand, her expression flat. They are a 5-man team, besides Xin Lan, there is also a short girl. Xin Lan made a numbering memory in her heart, Cai Yang in small glasses, Guo Ming in acne, Chen's Hai Hong in black, and Zhou Ming Feng in short. The little one walked on the other side of the little glasses, and He Xiaozhuang and Pimple walked behind. Seeing Cai Yang, the little spectacles who had come close unconsciously, Xin Lan stepped into the cafeteria. Good looking sometimes has advantages. For example, someone will come to you automatically, but Xin Lan likes to be the boss. Xin Lan rarely travels alone. When she is a general, she has a lot of subordinates. When she is a villain, there is no shortage of younger brothers and many followers. She is used to being the leader, but she doesn't like being the boss of disobedient people who can't help. The few people behind each had their own ideas, and Xin Lan, the temporary team, might not follow. Now that she had an idea, she wanted to fight with her ex-boyfriend, and how to say she had to set up a team strong enough to compete with her ex-boyfriend, and then dig out Swiba. Xin Lan, 99, I'm going to dismantle the team and dig people. What do you think of this plan? 09, why not join the ex-boyfriend team directly? You can always be ready to insert the knife, pry the tyrant, and off your ex-boyfriend. Are you not his ex-girlfriend? Just go and play with his goddess, and then tell him about him bad, isn't that better? Xin Lan, I think you can handle this task yourself. Such a talent is too poor to be a system. Xin Lan has a bit of inertial thinking. She has three types of villains: one is to be with the protagonist, and then betrayed by certain things, and the other is the boss waiting to be picked up by the protagonist, and the other is the opposite of the protagonist's position. For the mortal enemy, she doesn't like the first one, and feels that instead of intertwining love and hate, it is better to hate to the end. She could consider 99's suggestion, but in the best case, she still wanted to kick her ex-boyfriend away and torture her as hostility. 09, Loki, after all, I'm just a person who hides merit and fame. The real hero never looks back at the explosion, and the real system never abuses the scum by itself. The author has something to say. The weather is getting cold, and the trembling author puts the lovely Tuanzi reader in his arms and forcibly keeps warm. There are many people in the cafeteria, who are waiting in line and have already eaten. If you don't look carefully, you will feel that it is no different from normal campus. The auntie at the canteen still has a tendency to shake her hands, and the only advantage is probably that she can eat without having to swipe her meal card. Xin Lan went to Xiaoko's side. In fact, this side is also the most crowded. Xiao Chao is considered good in the canteen specifications. Although it may be made by the same master, it is still delicious compared to the cheap food over there. In this situation, and no money is needed, everyone will choose to let themselves eat better. Xin Lan moved forward with the team and saw her ex-boyfriend and Swiba passing by with a tray. Swiba was wearing a school uniform jacket, revealing a small white neck and a ponytail. His appearance was indeed outstanding. When he passed by Xin Lan even smelled a faint fragrance. By the time Xin Lan, there were not many dishes. She ordered two at random and walked to the side of the table with the tray. 09, Sister Lan, don't we go to the ex-boyfriend and sit there? There are still vacancies on the ex-boyfriend's side. I don't know if you don't want to get too close to other teams or guard against the school bully ex-boyfriend. There is no one on his side. This canteen can accommodate 1,000 people, with 399 people in it, which is very spacious. Xin Lan, I'm afraid I can't help but put the meal on his face. It will waste food, not good. Xin Lan thought and knew that she would be taunted by the scum of her ex-boyfriend in the past. Xin Lan was never a price-cutting person. In order to avoid her violent temper and put food on her face, she is still in her own right now. Okay. 09 stopped talking, and she forgot that Xin Lan was a sweetheart who played cards out of common sense. Everyone did not stay too much after dinner. During this period of rest, it is absolutely safe. Everyone can freely choose to go to any place of the school, whether it is a teaching building, a dormitory building, a library, a playground, or an auditorium. They can all be involved, but they must leave after the hunting time begins. The scope of hunting activities is limited to the 5th floor teaching building and dormitory building. 10 classes are arranged on the 3rd floor. During the hunting, they can hide in any position of the teaching building and dormitory building. Cai Yang suggested to go to the library to see if he could find anything. He said vaguely and was afraid of being muted. Everyone knew what he meant while making eye contact. There will be something there, isn't it just some books? He Xiaochuang Chen's Haihong frowned. He hates reading books most often. It doesn't hurt to go, I agree. The little Zhou Mingfang nodded. Maybe there are clues in the book. How can I know if I haven't read it? Xin Lan had no objections, and the 5 of them went to the library. When they went there they collided with another team, and when they arrived at the library, they found that there was already a team inside. Not every team is a group of 5 people. Xin Lan and the others encountered a 3-person team and a 4-person team. Everyone did not say hello, or even silent, passing by with a little hostility. The only sound in the library was the sound of pages turning. Chen's Haihong sat aside boredly, holding a shabby comic book in his hand. It seems that nothing has changed. I was here the day before I came here. Our class is going to have a reading class. Zhou Mingfang put down the book in his hand, and said with some frustration. I'll just say I can't find anything. Chen's Haihong curled his lips and continued to flip through the cartoons on his hands. You are so embarrassed to say that you didn't help. Acne Guoming said coldly. What do you mean? Chen's Haihong hammered the table with a book, his expression cold. He is black and strong, and looks a bit fierce in this way. Guoming didn't speak anymore. Cai Yang hurriedly finished the game. Xin Lan flipped through the book on her own, and asked 09 to scan all the books here. 09, report to Sister Lan. There is no record of the content here, but there are some men and women who are physically healthy. Oh, there is also a small yellow book hidden. I don't know who put it in. It looks like nothing, let's go. Xin Lan put the book back, and Chen's Haihong immediately agreed. The remaining three glanced at each other and decided to leave. Where are you going? When Zhou Mingfeng saw Xin Lan walking ahead, he opened up a distance of 2 or 3 steps. Dorm room. Then I will also go, just to move the dormitory, and ask if I can change it. Their dormitories are random and appear in their minds when they come. No one dared to scurry around on the first day, so they slept in the prescribed bed. What made them fear was that the bed and cabinet contained their own things, even day students. Zhou Mingfeng and Xin Lan are not in the same dormitory, but since they have formed a team, they naturally want to sleep with their teammates. When Xin Lan returned to the dormitory, no one had returned. Zhou Mingfeng didn't want to be separated from his teammates, so he sat in Xin Lan's bedroom. The accommodation conditions in this school are still very good, on the bed and off the table, but there is no independent guard. 10 minutes later, one of Xin Lan's roommates returned. Zhou Mingfeng said his dormitory number and asked if he could change dormitories. Coincidentally, the girl happened to have teammates in that room. Xin Lan got out of bed to help, and helped Zhou Mingfeng move things. The other 2 roommates came back and saw that the new roommate didn't say anything, and went back to bed. Xin Lan fiddled with the phone without internet on the bed and watched the time on it. When the break was over, a bell rang in the campus. Everyone couldn't help being tensed. Zhou Mingfeng hid under the quilt. The hunting time has begun. The door of the dormitory was closed, and there was no sign of anyone wanting to move. Zhou Mingfeng looked at the door, for fear that a monster would break in from there. Xin Lan glanced at her and retracted his eyes. As long as the door is not opened, the biggest danger is definitely not outside the door, but inside the door, an unknown. It gets dark early in winter, and now it's all dark outside just after 7 o'clock. The wind blew, and the glass windows hit softly. Xiao Chun took out her diary and took a pen to record on it. Suddenly, the diary in his hand was taken away. Give me back. Xiao Chun lowered her voice and stared at the person across from him. Xin Lan was attracted by the movement and looked up. Look at what our little wrote on it, task tisk, thoughts. The protracted female voice sneered sharply, as if to shatter one's self-esteem. You shut up. Xiao Chun looked at the 2 roommates on the other side in a panic, her face pale. Why don't you let me scream? Fear of submerging me like a lake, tut-tut, hypocritical. What's the matter with you, give it back to me. I changed my roommate today. Roommate A looks very beautiful. Roommate B and her are in the same team. If the other one can die, it will be fine. What do you mean, little bitch? You curse me to death. The girl read the diary in a funny tone, but her face changed at the end of the reading. She smashed the diary back on Xiao Kun's head, and Xiao Kun's forehead immediately became red and swollen. Damn it, it seems that you don't usually teach you enough, right? Do you dare to curse Lao Tzu to death? You bitch, I won't die if you die, give me your clues. The girl stood up, trying to step over the bed to Xiao Kun's side. I won't give it to you. Xiao Chun pushed the person, but was caught by the hair and slapped. Zhou Mingfeng didn't dare to control, shrank under the quilt. Xin Lan frowned at the noise and looked at the girl who was beating. With a few ear studs on her ears, her expression was full of hostility, and her mouth spit out dirty words, and then contacted her before saying what she had said before, thinking it was school violence for a long time. There was still a stalemate over there. The girl was holding Xiaokun's hair and touching her body with her hands, trying to get a clue. Xiao Chun bit her and pushed her away. It is really annoying to shout and curse. Xin Lan threw a half-remaining mineral water bottle, and accurately smashed it on the violent girl. Where do the chickens come from? They scream before dawn, and others still sleep, understand? Xin Lan sneered, she hated other people's noise the most. You're a chicken. You look like a young lady. You don't know how many people have played with me. You pretend to be upright here? Who doesn't know if you send your broken shoes up to Zhou Yunfei to play with him? The girl snorted, put down Xiaokun's hair she was holding in her hand, and sneered at Xin Lan. Zhou Yunfei is the ex-boyfriend of that scum. Xin Lan got out of bed and got under the girl. What? You want to do it with me? Xin Lan didn't talk nonsense, and grabbed her by one foot and dragged her off the upper bunk. The girl fell to the ground and curled up in pain. You're a dog, how dare you? Before she finished scolding, Xin Lan grabbed her head and knocked on the table, making a loud noise. You speak again. Xin Lan raised her eyebrows. I said you. Boom. Say it again. You fucking. Boom. Say it again. Xin Lan's tone was light, but it made people shudder. The girl was dragged and bumped several times, her head bleeding, the blood drops down her face, her eyes stared at Xin Lan bitterly, but she didn't dare to speak again. Mute? Didn't you just say it? You have the ability to let me go. Xin Lan let go and clapped her hands in disgust. The girl stood up from the ground, trying to super. Xin Lan rushed over, but was kicked by Xin Lan in her lower abdomen, and fell to the ground with her belly in her arms. Xin Lan licked her dry lips and smashed the girl's hand a few times. I was wrong just now, you're not a chicken, you're a dog, otherwise, how come your mouth is full of feces? Xin Lan squatted leisurely on the ground, groping her fingers in the girl's pockets. The girl was still struggling. She was hit in the face with an elbow, and Xin Lan pinched her neck with one hand, and asked Lingju to tell her where the things were. 09, hey, fat silly. Kind of hiding. Xin Lan stood up and hooked her finger at Xiao Chun who had just been beaten on the bed. Come down and help me take off her pants. Xiao Chun didn't dare to fail, and got out of bed trembling. The girl wanted to move, but Xin Lan stepped on her chest. Aren't you going to die tonight? If you move, that person will be you. The author has something to say, make a systematic voice, the host is great. The author is good. In fact, Xin Lan has never understood what kind of existence their headquarters is. At first, he was curious when he was a newcomer, but later he wanted to know more of the core. But no results are obtained, no one knows. I don't know why I came here, and why I was assigned to this department. The task is directly assigned in the system. If you want to ask how the system was made, they will answer, that's how it was made. With all kinds of personalities and appearances, after too many worlds, Xin Lan gave up on investigating this issue. It doesn't make much sense. Every time you complete a task, there will be a reward, and you can choose the method of this reward. Some are improving physical fitness, enhancing memory, money, etc., some are taking a long time off, and some are returning to reality. Xin Lan has a colleague who is constantly doing tasks, just to be able to spend more time with his family in reality. It's not only human souls that can come here, Xin Lan's colleagues also have mountain spirits, vampires, etc., each with its own quirks. Xin Lan only used the reward once to return to the original Interstellar to see how the Empire turned out in the end. The empire's vitality was greatly injured in that war, but she also severely damaged the opponent's main ship at the cost of death. The empire unearthed traitors and was in the period of national strength recovery. Her name, Xin Lan, was included in the empire's chronicle. What is necessary to stay there again? She enhanced her abilities with the rewards made by each world, but after she came into the mission world, she would be subject to some restrictions. As far as Xin Lan in the real world is concerned, her physical fitness is comparable to that of a Superman. After entering the first world, her strength was weakened, and she beat the scumbag with a 3-point strength, and the scumbag was also seriously injured. If she were the 3-point strength of the original state, the scumbag had already been beaten into the wall, and she would not be able to pull it out. 09. The host is amazing. But where are you going? Xin Lan, during the legal hunting period, of course it was hunting. Xin Lan's figure disappeared in the night, disappearing at the end of the path. 09 smashed his mouth, sighing infinitely. She thought of her first two hosts, which were completely different from this one. As expected, it was from another department, and the style was straightforward. Xin Lan, what is it? A person in the evening sighed in his head, and it felt a little irritating. 9. I remembered the host before me. Xin Lan had already walked to the teaching building. The teaching building was dark and there were no lights on. The school at night has a special sense of horror. The door of the wide teaching building is like a big open mouth, full of permeating meaning. Xin Lan walked up against the wall, and asked her to talk when she heard Kiju's words. 19. My first host is a soft vixen. The guy hooks people accurately and slaps her face in minutes. You can come to a better man to vent her anger at any time, but in the end, he can get rid of it. Up. Xin Lan, what do you say? Xin Lan is a little interested. The tasker cannot be said to be omnipotent in the world, and will also be subject to many restrictions. Is it because he accidentally destroyed the world? This is an important work error, and it will be severely punished. If the money is deducted and then go to work for nothing, it will also force psychological counseling treatment and other supervision methods. Xin Lan always remembered who she was, and she had never done anything like this. She had no interest in destroying the world, but a colleague had done it and let Xin Lan know the punishment regulations. 09. Vixen, you know, the nature is more uninhibited, fishing one by one, she uses her rewards for her prosperous beauty. In a certain mission world, she was by a few natives. That thing can lock the soul, and I can't save it, she can only stay there. When Lingju said this, she was a little melancholy, but in fact, she did not quite understand why the host wanted to die. She seemed to be unable to do without a man, which gave her a misunderstanding of thinking and saw that her second host was not. It was weird to go fishing for men, and was finally corrected by the second host. 09. My second host is a human. According to the words of human society, she has serious misogyny. She relies on her own slaps. She is very good at conspiracy and ruthless. Xin Lan, how did you change me? 09. She fell in love and voluntarily stayed in that world. I am a system without a host. Just when you transfer it over, I will take over. On the first day after taking over, he was brutally defeated by Waterloo, refreshing the time and speed of the system failure, and was trembling with fright by the host. Xin Lan, in love? With a girl? 09. No, man, she hates men very much, but I don't know why she doesn't hate that one. She said it's not easy to meet the opposite one, maybe there will be no chance in the future, so she said goodbye to me. It's also a happy person who can think about it. Xin Lan sighed inwardly after hearing it, and had already walked to the third floor. 09. Host, why are you here? There is no one here. Xin Lan motioned for her to be quiet and turned in through the window. The next day, everyone was quite timid, no one came to the teaching building. The reason Xin Lan came here was to see what was in the classroom. I have to go to class during the day, and there are many people, so I definitely can't mess around. Although there may not necessarily be clues, but idleness is also idle anyway, just as an activity to explore the terrain before hunting. Xin Lan didn't turn on the lights and looked at the furnishings in the classroom with the moonlight outside. Ordinary classrooms, chandeliers, fans, blackboards, whiteboards, slogans on the classroom. Xin Lan's gaze stopped on the slogan. During the day, the slogan should be God rewards hard work and continuous self-improvement, but now the other side is continuous self-improvement. One word has been changed, and it cannot be said to be a change, but simplified Chinese has become traditional. No one stays in the classroom after school. This handwriting will definitely not be made by the 399 students here. There are only so-called rules or NPCs. 09, host, I am a little scared. 09 hugged her little yellow chicken pillow tightly in the system space. Although it was a materialist, the slogan of one word was suddenly changed in the empty classroom at night. How strange it is to think. Xin Lan was very calm, even moved the table and chair, stepped on it to reach the word, and slowly tore a corner of it from below. Something fell on her palm. Xin Lan squeezed it, pasted the words back, and wiped off the footprints after restoring the table and chair, sat down, and looked at the thing in her hand with the light. It was a hard paper card with a texture that looked like a game card for children. A line of words is printed on it. Use it silently during legal hunting to get a clue that fits. Xin Lan used it immediately, and the card disappeared in her hand, replaced by a clue fragment. Xin Lan took out her other two, and the texture of this one matched her original one. Xin Lan fought for a while, but couldn't see anything. It looks like a broken map, but the paper is very peculiar, at least it can't be shredded, and it is very soft. Xin Lan put the 3 clues in his pocket and returned according to the same path. Today, she just wanted to see if there would be any situation. It would be best to hunt down the lone prey, but everyone was very cautious, but it was a surprise. There must be more than one surprise hidden in this school. If it weren't for her inertial observation, I would have missed this one. I just don't know if this is the kindness of rules or a deeper trap. Xin Lan's original plan was to look at all of these places, but he didn't expect unexpected discoveries. She didn't know if there would be such things in other classrooms. She instinctively told her to have them, but years of experience told her not to go. Xin Lan is not a greedy person either. She always feels that if she collects several of these things at once today, she might die tomorrow. The word strong that she took out as a clue has now been restored to its original form. Seeing this, she didn't plan to keep till 12 o'clock. The hunt ended at 12 o'clock. Xin Lan always felt that something should change after 12 o'clock, but she got a clue, and the place where the clue was hidden has been restored to its original state. To be on the safe side, Xin Lan decided to leave. Xin Lan once again jumped from under the corridor to the ground, making Lingju always have a kind of horror that the host would jump off the building. Xin Lan returned to the dormitory and knocked on the door. Xiao Chun opened the door, and the moment he saw Xin Lan, it was like seeing a savior, almost crying with joy. Xin Lan picked up the basin and put it in, and saw the girl sitting in a chair wiping blood from her head. It's no wonder that Xiao Chun will show that expression, because she is afraid that this person will grab her things again. The girl glanced at Xin Lan, but she didn't dare to show any resentment in her eyes. She lowered her brows and pleasing her eyes, doing her own thing for herself. Xin Lan put the things in the same order, took the basin and brought the laundry detergent, ready to wash the clothes. Xiao Chun shook her hand and followed Xin Lan with the basin. Xin Lan didn't care, but said something to her when she closed the door. So scared. Xiao Chun nodded and hugged the basin tightly. She is already injured, you don't need to be so scared of her. I'm afraid she will go crazy, She has no clues, I'm afraid she wants to steal me. Xiao Chun said honestly. Aren't you afraid that I will steal you? Xiao Chun hesitated for a while, but still didn't distance himself from Xin Lan. It's good for anyone, just don't give it to her. If you want, I can give it to you. You don't need to hit me. Xiao Chun thought for a while and said, but the last sentence was quiet. 09, puff. Does her host look so cruel? You take it yourself first. Xin Lan covered the gloom in her eyes and walked to the water room. Solve the vicious dogs in the crowd first, so why worry that the remaining sheep will be unbehaved? The author has something to say. 09 Changes in the system network initialization. There are more men crazy for my host, and your host is a rookie. Later, what's so great about seduce a man? My host is highly obsessed with men, and it is different from your host. Now, what is a man proud of being crazy about her? My host can hit 10 of that kind of man, cut. Other systems? Xin Lan dried the clothes on the balcony and returned to her bed. Zhou Mingfang remembers that Xin Lan said before that she would not come back, but she only knew where she went during the time she came back. Zhou Mingfang wanted to ask like a cat caught him, but he didn't dare to ask. Xin Lan said, there is no permanent teammate, that is to say, she can leave at any time. Zhou Mingfang squeezed his clue fragments, and leaned against the wall. No one can believe here, and everyone is in danger. She didn't want to die. Xiao Chun was the last one to go to bed. Her light was turned off and she curled up. She didn't even dare to fall asleep, fearing that she might be stolen in her sleep or be retaliated by the girl who was in the shop. Xin Lan fell asleep steadily, vaguely heard the bell. Xin Lan, is it 12 o'clock? 09, Xin Lan fell asleep again. In the dead of night, there was a soft noise in the dormitory. The sound is very subtle, almost negligible. However, Lingzhu immediately paused the TV series he was chasing, observing the sound source in the dormitory. A man sat up from the bed and got out of the bed lightly. Her movements were a bit sluggish, and 09 Yi recognized the girl who was beaten by Xin Lan at night. The man fumbled on his desk and found what he wanted. The faint dim light reflected the light of the knife. It was a fruit knife. 09 didn't know what she wanted to do, and didn't wake Xin Lan, knowing that the man was holding a fruit knife, and approached Xin Lan's bed and stepped on the wooden stairs of Xin Lan's bed. 09, host, someone is holding a knife by your bed. Xin Lan opened her eyes, expressionless. Lingzhu felt that there was something wrong with her appearance, and she dared not speak while holding the little yellow chicken. The light of the knife became the only obvious spot of light in the night, and Xin Lan directly sat up and grabbed the wrist, breaking it hard. The screams awakened the other two roommates, and Xin Lan coldly picked up the knife that had fallen on the bed. The girl went down the stairs at the first moment of the pain, and took a few steps back. Xin Lan got out of bed with a knife and approached the girl. The girl backed away in a panic, bumped into the chair in the dark, making a harsh noise. You can't kill me. Now the hunting time is over. If you kill me, you will be obliterated. The girl's voice trembled, and the surroundings were dark. She couldn't see what was next to her. She could only move her position with the arrangement of the things in her memory. She couldn't see what was in front of her, but she could feel the courage. Xin Lan didn't speak, pulling the girl's arm, lifting her clothes roughly, and cutting off a piece of meat. The girl let out another piercing scream, and Xin Lan impatiently told her to shut up. If you noisy again, I can guarantee that your head and your body will be separated in the first time when the hunting time starts tomorrow. With suppressed anger in Xin Lan's voice, she threw the knife on the ground, returned to her bed, and covered it with a quilt. 09 dared not speak out, knowing that the host had a strong sense of getting up. The reason for her unhappiness is probably not that someone tried to stab her with a knife, but that it disturbed her to sleep. Xiao Chun and Zhou Mingfang were both awake, but no one dared to get out of bed and turn on the lights. Xiao Chun relaxed a bit. The man made his own mind and the hunting time was over. He should not do anything to her tonight. She straightened her legs and fell into a deep sleep. When Xian Lan got up the next day, she saw the blood stains and a piece of human flesh underground. Her face was full of sleep and refreshed, and she had only a vague memory of the time last night. People will always remember the things that happen when they are awakened during sleep. Xian Lan didn't have any expression, and took the toiletries out of the room. Zhou Mingfang and Xiao Chun felt a little vomiting when they saw the piece of meat. There were many people in the water room, and Xian Lan saw Shen Qian. Shen Qian also happened to see her and smiled at her. Xian Lan saw that there was an empty seat beside her and walked over with the basin. "How was your sleep last night?" Shen Qian asked while washing his hands. "Not bad." Xian Lan turned on the faucet and squeezed toothpaste. "I didn't know who was calling in the middle of the night last night, which woke me up." Shen Qian turned off the faucet, and his words were full of temptation. "I always sleep very hard." Xian Lan started brushing her teeth, and she had no idea that Shen Qian still wanted to talk. While Xian Lan was washing her face, someone walked into the water room with a pale face and told everyone that a person had died in their dormitory. The man who died on the first day was a boy. He was also found in the dormitory the next morning. He died silently without any wounds. He looked like he was asleep, but he did not breathe. And even more strangely, the corpse disappeared in full view. No one knows whether only the corpses of the people killed by the rules will disappear, or if the corpses will disappear. Xian Lan poured out the water in the basin and followed everyone's footsteps to the dormitory with the basin. Many people were crowded at the door. Xian Lan placed the basin on the wall of the corridor and squeezed in. From the height below, you can't actually see what the person sleeping on it looks like. Xian Lan got on the bunk of the bed and saw the girl with her eyes closed. A very ordinary-looking girl, she looked like she was asleep, but her complexion was deadly pale and her chest had no ups and downs. Xian Lan didn't need to look at it to know that this was already a dead person. Xian Lan looked down and was right in front of the Shen Qian in the crowd. Already dead. As soon as Xian Lan's voice fell, there was a faint weeping voice in the crowd. When they saw the corpse, everyone's fear was aroused. Xian Lan did not leave, she sat on the side of the bed. She wanted to see how the corpse disappeared, or if it really disappeared. It was a boy who died yesterday, and the words came from the boy. No one of the girls has ever seen the corpse, but it was out of thin air. However, the transfer of clue fragments is determined by rules. This should not be a fake, and because of this, no one should deliberately transfer the corpse, but Xian Lan likes to look at it with her own eyes. Some people dispersed, but some people stayed in the dormitory. No one said anything about the other 3 girls living in the dormitory. They just lowered their heads and did not dare to look at that location, busy with their own affairs. The girl who was occupied by Xian Lan just glanced at Xian Lan and sat on the chair. "Class will start at 8 o'clock, no one wants to be late." Xian Lan took out her phone and took a look at the time. It was 7:30. 5 minutes later, the corpse in front of him changed. Xian Lan watched her body become transparent little by little, and finally disappeared completely. Xian Lan touched the bed, but didn't touch anything. Others also saw the corpse disappeared, some covered their mouths, while others did not dare to stay at all and turned and left. Xian Lan got out of bed and walked out. Shen Qian was beside her and walked 2 steps with her. "I remember your dormitory and mine are 2 directions. Shen Qian should go back, not forward. You seem a bit different from what I imagined." Shen Qian thought that Xian Lan was just a little silly person who looked good. After all, she had seen the appearance of Xian Lan when she was in love a long time ago. At that time, she had not broken up with Zhou Yunfei. She was hooking Zhou Yunfei's arm and acting like a baby with him. She wanted to go on a date on the weekend, but Zhou Yunfei refused. The impatience on Zhou Yunfei's face was so obvious, but she still persisted without realizing it. Soon after that, Shen Chuiyan heard that Zhou Yunfei had dumped people. As expected. However, the Xin Lan that I see now is not much the same as in the memory, as if he is calmer, bolder, and smarter. Although it is not as if the two are so exaggerated, the difference between them is obvious. Xin Lan didn't have many doubts about her words, but replied something similar but opposite. You are no different from what I imagined. What do you say? Shen Chuiyan came interested and looked at Xin Lan's eyes. As smart and beautiful as I thought. Xin Lan can't be regarded as perfunctory, after all, what she knows from the follow-up plot is the smart and beautiful Shen Chuiyan. Shen Chuiyan was a little surprised, but he was immediately put away again, showing a nice smile. Shen Chuiyan is so beautiful that it is not aggressive, like a water lotus. Thank you for the compliment, you are also very good looking. Beautiful as a fiery red rose, it makes people want to fold it, but is afraid of hurting the fingers. If there is nothing wrong, I will go back. Goodbye. 09, host, don't you want to dig a wall? How do you feel that you are not very close to Swiba? Xin Lan, which villain have you seen to win over the little brother by himself? 9, host, be sober. Xin Lan, I forgot again, but it's not a big problem. I can be the last person to survive without digging a corner. 9, but our task, Xin Lan, I see, it's a big deal at the end. I put the clues in front of my ex-boyfriend, first tell him that I can team up, and then tell him that I lied to him, let him look at me a little bit, let him know what it's called death approaching. No one will be able to save him, and he will fall into despair a little bit. Then he will cry and wait for death. Xin Lan, isn't this a beating heart and body? 09 is speechless and chokes, are you the devil? 09, but aren't we talking about robbing him of women? Xin Lan, well. Xin Lan walked ahead for a while, and looked back when she saw Shen Chuiyan standing in place as if thinking about something. Seeing her turning around, he smiled habitually at her. What I said yesterday has always been valid. Okay, I remember. Shen Chuiyan nodded, she also had her own ideas. She didn't plan to tie herself to a team and choose multiple paths. The two people walked in opposite directions, but finally met under the dormitory. The two looked at each other and walked forward together in a tacit understanding. I'm in class. There is no change in the two classes compared to the original one. Do you know the one who died today? Our class is unfamiliar. I think we can be classmates. Look forward to your visit. Shen Chuiyan said softly. The two did not speak any more and walked side by side to the teaching building. Shen Chuiyan turned around and entered the first class, while Xin Lan returned to the third class. The bell rang at 8 o'clock, and someone left the classroom first. During the discussion, there was no mandatory requirement to stay in the classroom. After all, the classroom is so big. It is not good for people to listen to the conversation and show the clues, so everyone will find their own places. Did you have breakfast before you came? The others nodded, and Xin Lan stroked her chin. I haven't eaten yet. Why don't we go to the cafeteria and have a discussion while eating? It just so happens that I have something to tell you. Zhou Mingfang thought of something, and silently grabbed the corner of his clothes. She was a little scared. She wondered what would she do if the boy teammates also thought they could leave at any time and grab her clues? Xin Lan bought soy milk and fried noodles, and bought 2 small sumai. While Xin Lan was eating, other teammates were exchanging information. Zhou Mingfang said that one of their girls was killed by the rules, while Cai Yang in the small glasses said that a fight took place in their boys' dormitory last night. Fighting? Why? Zhou Mingfang whispered, then immediately lowered his voice. Xin Lan listened with interest while eating fried noodles, observing everyone's expressions. When Guoming and Cai Yang talked about acne, their faces were not very good looking, and even Chen's Haihong was calm. In the beginning, it was just in the dormitory. The three boys were in a team, and the other was not. The three of them wanted to join hands to grab clues to that person. That person also had teammates. When he rushed over, the boy had been beaten very badly. Yes, the teammates just started doing it. It's not over yet. Some people fish in troubled waters, some people want to follow suit, and suddenly it gets messed up. Guoming followed Cai Yang's words and said that he still had lingering fears about the sudden fight last night. Fortunately, the three of us were standing together. Someone wanted to come over and we kicked them away. We didn't look any further, and we quickly went back to the dormitory and locked the door. Clue fragments are of course important, but they still remember what they need to take clue fragments for, to survive, so life is more important. It was during the legal hunting period, anyone who died was fine, they didn't dare to wait too much. Fortunately, you didn't go out, the clues are there. Zhou Mingfang seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and asked. The three nodded, and Zhou Mingfang's gaze quietly fell on Xin Lan. Xin Lan has 2 fragments. She went out yesterday, maybe there are more. What's the result? Xin Lan took a sip of soy milk, took out a tissue from her pocket and wiped her mouth. I don't know, when we came out at 12 o'clock, nothing happened. So I don't know who got it and who didn't. By the way, didn't you say you have something to tell us? Cai Yang looked at Xin Lan, Zhou Mingfang knew what Xin Lan might have to say, and raised his heart slightly. I plan to quit this team. Why? What's wrong? Cai Yang looked puzzled. Could it be that Xin Lan felt that their behavior of hiding during hunting was more persuasive? I intend to form a team of my own. Goodbye is a competitor. Xin Lan got up and said goodbye to them. Zhou Mingfang's eyes were complicated, but Chen's Haihong pressed it fiercely when Cai Yang wanted to say something. Xin Lan left the canteen and walked towards the teaching building. What did you just press me for? This kind of thing is good for nothing but looks good, keep it for anything, and she said she wants to go, what are you stopping for? Chen's Haihong said with disdain, he must have embraced other people when he came to think of it, and he became a couple of his own, and scorned. Zhou Mingfang, you and her are in the same dormitory, right? Zhou Mingfang nodded. Did something happen last night? Xin Lan is, very powerful. Zhou Mingfang recounted what happened last night, especially when she dragged people off the bed and beat them, and the screams from the dormitory in the middle of the night, as well as a piece of meat on the ground. The other 3 people mentioned by Zhou Mingfang are a bit nauseous. Chen's Haihong's expression is particularly ugly. He slapped his face too quickly. He just said that they are useless. You didn't lie to us. Guoming asked unbelief. Why should I lie to you? We are not the same team, right? What good is it for me to lie to you? If she is really so capable, why didn't she beat someone up when she was dumped by Zhou Yunfei? Maybe it's broken love that makes people strong. Cai Yang asked back, everyone was silent for a while. Xin Lan went straight back to her class. There was a group of people in the class. Seeing Xin Lan came in, they immediately stopped talking and stared at Xin Lan. Xin Lan also had nothing to pack. She packed the textbooks and pens into her school bag, carried them on her back, and walked out of the classroom. After going out, she heard the voice of the conversation again. The content was nothing more than clues and rules. Xin Lan did not stop, and went to the first class. When Xin Lan entered, Shen Chuyin and the others were not inside, and the people talking with them were as alert as before. Xin Lan glanced over, there was an empty seat in the class. The pile of seats is obviously obtrusive, because there are books on the surrounding seating tables, only the one is clean and there is nothing at all. Xin Lan put her school bag and books on it, and there was still a schedule on the table, which was the same on every table. She sat there and opened the book. People around her looked a little weird. Xin Lan had good hearing, and even heard what they said in a low voice. "Isn't that Xin Lan? Why did you come to our class? Could it be Zhou Yunfei? No way, I broke up. Who knows, after all, it's so dangerous here. It's not impossible for her to hold her thigh. Zhou Yunfei won the fight yesterday. How many did he take? Not sure. Damn, what to do, the more he takes, we won't be dead. There will always be a way." Xin Lan turned the book over, and it seemed that the original owner was quite famous. 09, almost all grades and teachers know that the original owner was severely dumped, and many people later laughed at the original owner. Xin Lan continued to read. If someone doesn't look so long in front of her, then just don't have that mouth. Class time is approaching, and everyone is coming back one after another. Shen Qian saw the girl sitting there in school uniform with her head down and reading, with curls at the end of her ponytail. The lines of her profile are delicate and beautiful, showing a sense of indifference. Xin Lan nodded with her, and said hello. People in the first class had different reactions when they saw her, and one of them had the biggest opinion. Zhou Yunfei frowned and looked at Xin Lan sitting there with disgust. "Yunfei, she is also a beauty anyway, do you need such an expression?" Chu Lu looked at Zhou Yunfei, followed his line of sight to see Xin Lan, and couldn't help but jokingly said. Zhou Yunfei carefully glanced at the Shen Qian next to him, and snorted, reluctant to mention it. Seeing that he didn't speak, Chu Lu didn't say a word. The class bell rang and the teacher walked in from outside. From the memory of the original owner, Xin Lan knew that this was a Chinese teacher in the first class. A middle-aged man, wearing a leather jacket, still has an energetic smile on his face. The opposite of him is the students below, one by one, sluggish, like wilted cabbage. No one dared to speak, for fear of being punished in the coffin after all. "Students, open the textbook and turn to Lesson 6. Today we will learn Bai Juyi's Pipa scene together." There was a hula-la flipping sound in the classroom and turned to the designated side. But before the class, there is one more thing. Does anyone remember the review content I assigned yesterday? The teacher's gaze swept across everyone, and there was a dead silence. "Teacher, I recite the difficult road of Shu. Shen Qian spoke up, and the teacher nodded in satisfaction. Did anyone take the initiative to memorize it? Everyone wanted to turn to the front to read the contents of the book, but found that the book seemed to be stuck together tightly, and there was no way to be turned over. Shen Qian did not move, thinking about whether to stand up. Xin Lan thought of yesterday's clues and raised his hand. The rules did not block all the roads, there is still a reward mechanism. Violating discipline in class will be punished, so will you be rewarded for doing well in class? Nowhere does Xin Lan remember the road to Shu, but she has 09s and has a super memory. The teacher smiled and looked at her, motioning her to get up. The moment Xin Lan got up, she remembered what 09 had given her in her mind. The eyes of everyone gathered on her. Xin Lan looked at the teacher, and began to recite without ups and downs in her tone. You can cross Yimei Peak. The collapse of the mountain destroys the heroes to death, and then the ladder stone stacks are connected to each other. Good job, I wonder if you have previewed what you learned today. The teacher's eyes were very satisfied, of course Xin Lan nodded. Lingju quickly showed her Pipa scene, Xin Lan scanned it again and continued to recite. Sunyang River heads off at night, the maple leaf and the flowers are so beautiful in autumn. The master dismounts the horse and the passenger is on the boat, lifts the wine to drink without the orchestra, and if drunk is not happy, it will be goodbye, don't be immersed in the moon in the vast river. Under the surprised eyes of everyone, Xin Lan sat down. At the same time, a card fell on her table with a crisp sound. Those who didn't take their gaze back, naturally saw this scene. Xin Lan put his hand on the card, and the people next to him couldn't see what the card looked like. Students who study hard will be rewarded, and everyone should read the text by themselves. Reading sounded in the classroom, but many people were still watching Xin Lan, and almost everyone was guessing what Xin Lan got. Xin Lan glanced at the content on the card and raised her mouth. You can obtain clue fragments of a dead person any day, and use them silently during hunting. It's a reward, but there are restrictions. It's not as convenient as the one she got last night. The advantage is that you can choose the time yourself, but the disadvantage is that you limit the deceased. This dead person is killed by the rules, or as long as it is dead. The author has something to say. Ding, the card drops. Everyone, I really want to grab it. Sister Lan, I really want to be robbed. 9. First incense to everyone present. If it is the former, then she needs to use up the card as soon as possible, or in other words, keep it till the end. According to Xin Lan's inference, this kind of game generally kills fewer likes in the early stage. Everyone is very cautious, and there is also the kindness of being a person. In the middle and late stages, everyone will do everything to survive. In the end, the people who survived are human spirits, and they are not so easy to be hunted, so it is very likely that they will be shot by rules, but it is not certain that no one will move. If the deceased mentioned in the card is in the former situation, Xin Lan will want to use it sooner, but if it is the latter, if several people die one night, will she get one at random, or can she specify it? And those who are dead must have been killed. The clue will be in the hands of the hunter. Even if it is, can it appear in her hands? Xin Lan's thoughts went back and forth, and finally looked at the writing, and started studying for herself. There was also a break during class. During the break, Xin Lan felt a lot of eyes falling on her, and she only met one of them. Shen Shuiyan did not come over, but her expression revealed her thoughts. Yunfei, she is looking at you. Go over and ask. Chu Lu pushed Zhou Yunfei next to him, and he was also curious. I'm not too lazy to pass. Zhou Yunfei rolled his eyes and didn't look in that direction. After hearing their conversation, Shen Shuiyan laughed in his heart, knowing that people are watching her without seeing it. Don't be too affectionate, okay? Shen Shuiyan thought that Zhou Yunfei could do it, but now it seems quite stupid. Shen Shuiyan pinned the scattered hair behind his ears and looked again. The wind blew outside the window, and the bell rang announcing the end of the morning class. Xin Lan closed her clothes when she went out, and the cold wind blew her hair a little messy. She seemed to be the only person without a team, sitting at the table alone, very conspicuous. Everyone in class 1 knew what she got, but no one knew what it was. Xin Lan finished lunch and went back to the dormitory to rest. The girl who was beaten by her last night and twisted her right hand bone was not there. The piece of meat on the ground was still there, the color had changed, and the air smelled of rancidity. Xin Lan took the broom and shovel to dump the thing in the trash can outside, yawned and got ready for a nap. When Zhou Mingfang saw this, he swallowed what he wanted to ask. That? Xin Lan? Xiao Chun yelled timidly, and Xin Lan looked up and motioned for her to say. Tao Ling didn't go to class today. Tao Ling is the girl's name. Xin Lan nodded in disinterest and said that she knew it, and started taking a nap in bed. Xin Lan fell asleep very quickly, and soon she could hear her steady breathing. Zhou Mingfang and Xiao Chun looked at each other. Xiao Chun shrank back, but Zhou Mingfang's eyes fell on the pile of clothes not far from her. Xin Lan put the coat and other clothes near her feet, and she could touch them as long as she reached out. Zhou Mingfang wanted to stretch out his hand, but suddenly became sober. She pinched herself and wrinkled her face in pain. There are still people here, and even if no one, thinking of Xin Lan's almost brutal way of beating people, she dare not steal it. The bell rang in the evening, and it was hunting time again. Xin Lan continued to wash her hair and take a bath. When she was blowing her hair with the hair dryer, Lingju's voice sounded in her mind. At the same time, she turned around and smashed the hair dryer on the head of the visitor. The girl was in pain and ran away immediately. 9. Why run so fast? Xin Lan, be timid. It is estimated that it is not proficient in doing this, and the sneak attack failed and ran away instead of thinking about counterattack. Fortunately, she didn't think about counterattack, otherwise it would not be as simple as a blow dryer. Xin Lan blew her hair, tied her hair into a low ponytail, and put the basin back in the dormitory. After washing the clothes and drying them, she went out again. There were people in the hallway of the dormitory this time, and Xin Lan didn't jump out so ostentatiously, but walked up the stairs. This sampling seems to be very even in terms of gender, with 200 boys and 200 girls, and the deaths are also very even. Boys died on the first day, and girls died on the second day. There are 10 dormitories on the first floor, so there are people living on the first to fifth floors. Xin Lan went down the stairs and out of the girls' dormitory. There are a total of 5 floors in the teaching building, and Xin Lan doesn't know about the other buildings, but there are 10 classes on the 3rd floor, where everyone gathers activities. This time she looked from the 1st floor and found that the 1st to 2nd floors are in the same pattern, with 3 classrooms on the left and 3 on the right. There are only 6 classrooms. She went up to the 3rd floor and found that it was the 5th from the left and the 5th from the right. When she went in, she found that the classroom had become smaller. It turned out that the school layout was like the 1st and 2nd floors. Xin Lan went up to the 4th and 5th floors and found that the situation was the same as on the 1st and 2nd floors. The door is locked, and the glass windows are also bolted. Xin Lan leaned on the glass to look inside, seeing nothing in the dark. Xin Lan didn't trespass, but chose to return to the 3rd floor. She pressed her hand against the window, turned over flexibly and landed on the table, and wiped her footprints clean when she came down. She walked to the wall and turned on the light. But there was one hand covering the back of her hand, which was obviously a step slower. Xin Lan turned around and saw an innocent and beautiful face. What a coincidence! Shen Chuyan said. Xin Lan nodded and said nothing. The classroom was a public place, and anyone could come. She looked around and didn't let go of every corner, but she didn't find any abnormalities. Is there nothing in this classroom? Xin Lan glanced at the sinking water smoke behind him, and was about to turn the window out of the classroom. Shen Chuyan stopped her, his expression a little hesitant. Why don't you go out through the door, it's not locked. When Xin Lan's movements became stiff, she became habitual thinking again. Xin Lan calmly got down from the chair, patted her footprints, and opened the door. Shen Chuyan followed behind her with a smile, feeling that Xin Lan's expression was very cute just now. Xin Lan went to other classrooms again, and found nothing. Are you looking for something? No, just take a look. Xin Lan has seen all 10 classrooms on this floor and found nothing. Why would you want to come to the classroom? Xin Lan was sure that there were no other people in this building except her and Shen Chuyan, and asked casually. I followed you. Xin Lan fixedly looked at Shen Chuyan, and Shen Chuyan looked back with a smile. It's just that you are clearly in front of me and you are behind me. Did you go to see other floors? Okay. Xin Lan didn't have anything to conceal this kind of things that he knew at the first thought. Did you find anything? Xin Lan shook her head, and Shen Chuyan did not ask any more. I thought you would ask about the daytime. Xin Lan took a good look at Shen Chuyan again, she was obviously also very curious. Then would you say it? I only say to my companion. That means I still have a chance to hear. During the conversation, the meaning of each other has been conveyed. Shen Chuyan was about to go back to the dormitory. After all, the bed was comfortable, but he saw Xin Lan walking in the opposite direction. Where are you going? Go and see elsewhere. But the rules say, the only areas that can be moved during the hunt are dormitories and teaching buildings. Shen Chuyan intends to stop it. Under the unknown circumstances, it would be too risky to go. Then why is there such a restriction? How can I know if I don't look at it? Xin Lan kept pace, and she never lacked the spirit of seeking death. As a villain, doesn't it mean to have this kind of death-seeking spirit? Xin Lan played a low-level boss at the beginning, knowing that to do that is to wait for the protagonist to get revenge, but I have to do it. Shen Chuyan looked at her back, thought for a while and followed. The male and female dormitories are on both sides of the teaching building, and Xin Lan leads to the cafeteria in this direction. This high school has done a good job of greening, and the streets are full of trees on both sides. From the teaching building to the cafeteria, you have to pass a small road, with small woods on both sides of the road. The school has street lights, which will be lit at night, but now only the road in the dormitory building is not lit, and the road on the grove is dark. Xin Lan stood in front of the path, and there seemed to be a hazy mist in front of him, which even blocked people's vision in the night. Vaguely, she seemed to hear something. Can't you walk over? Shen Chuyan followed, and saw Xin Lan stopping at the intersection and looked inside. Did you hear any sound? Voice? Nothing. Shen Chuyan shook his head, and listened attentively after speaking. Nothing. She said it again, making sure she didn't hear it. Wait, it seems, someone is singing. Someone is singing. Their voices overlapped, adding a strange atmosphere to the night. The two people looked at each other, and while still hesitating, the singing became clearer and clearer. A nursery rhyme that everyone is familiar with, but the voice is that of a young man. Two tigers, running fast, one without eyes and the other without ears. It's really weird. It's weird. There were applause and laughter, which gave people a very bad feeling in the quiet campus. Xin Lan saw the scene in the black mist, her pupils dilated. There are two people singing the song, or they can no longer be called a person, one of them is the one that Xin Lan saw and disappeared this morning. A man and a woman, singing nursery rhymes. The tone was cheerful, and he slapped his hands. One of them had no eyes, empty eye sockets, and grinning smiles that looked completely oozing, and the other had no ears and was bare on both sides, and was also smiling. They stared at Xin Lan and Shen Chuyan. Xin Lan even had no time to shout, grabbing Shen Chuyan's hand and ran back. The nursery rhyme was still being hummed, becoming clearer and clearer, as if it sounded in my ears. Shen Chuyan was dragged and ran forward, a little breathless. It should have arrived at the teaching building soon, but the road seemed to be prolonged. Two tigers, running fast, one without eyes, one without ears, it's really weird, it's weird. The singing became sharper, and the last two sentences carried a hint of laughter. The author has something to say, ghost, two tigers. Xin Lan, it's too ugly, shut up. Ghost, give some face to sisters. Xin Lan ran forward, the hands of Shen Chuyan holding cold. 09, host, the spatial dimension has been extended, but it's not a ghost hitting a wall. You can continue to run to the end. Xin Lan didn't panic, she became more calm after hearing this, and continued to run forward with Shen Chuyan. Shen Chuyan didn't know what was behind her, she didn't look back, and strode her legs hard, but her physical fitness was different from that of Xin Lan, who could jump down from the fourth floor safe and sound. She quickly gasped. Can rely on Xin Lan's pulling force to move forward. The singing drifted away, and it seemed to stretch a long distance. Xin Lan looked back, but saw hollow eyes and a smile full of maliciousness. Xin Lan pushed Shen Shuiyan forward, turned around and kicked the eyeless ghost, kicking him out 1 meter away. Shen Shuiyan staggered and began to take off his thick coat. When she took off, the bitter cold wind made her shiver. Before she felt cold, she twisted her clothes towards Wu Ergui, covered her face, and kicked her. The two did not stop, and immediately continued to run forward. There is only one way, and there is no other way but to keep moving forward. Shen Shuiyan ran faster without the padded jacket. The song is so far and near, obviously it should be a cute nursery rhyme, but at this time it is no different from a reminder. Xin Lan saw the stairs of the teaching building and stepped inside with Shen Shuiyan in 2 steps. At the moment when he stepped on it, all the voices disappeared, leaving only the gasping voice of Shen Shuiyan. Safe. Shen Shuiyan wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked outside. The sight was black. Xin Lan asked her to wait, took a step out, saw the pale face, and withdrew her feet casually. Still out. I thought it was a survival game, but I didn't expect it to have supernatural elements. Shen Shuiyan wiped his sweat, his brows were calm. I caused this. I followed voluntarily. The wind blew over, and Shen Shuiyan trembled. She threw the tissue into the trash can next to her, smiled and said to Xin Lan that she was physically strong. It's too cold, go up first. Xin Lan looked at Shen Shuiyan with a smile but with blue lips, and motioned to go to the 3rd floor. They arrived in the 1st class. Although it was not too warm in the class, it was better than blowing the air outside. This may be the punishment I triggered. The rules will punish anyone who made a mistake. Xin Lan thought that she had gone to enter the prohibited zone with the intention of being driven out and could not leave the teaching building. But this inability to leave must be temporary. Will the punishment go away after the hunt? Maybe, it will definitely be before class tomorrow. The rules are too sinister. The scope of activities was reduced to dormitories and teaching buildings, forcing people to kill each other. Xin Lan frowned when she looked at Shen Shuiyan's trembling unconsciously standing there. The temperature at night is very low, and the padded jacket of the sinking water pipe is taken off, and there is only a thin long sleeve inside. If you stay here for 1 night, you will definitely get sick. Xin Lan opened the zipper of her down jacket and waved to Shen Shuiyan. Shen Shuiyan pointed at herself, a little surprised. But she did not resist and walked over. Xin Lan sat cross-legged with a book on the ground, Shen Shuiyan stuck to her arms. Xin Lan gathered her clothes, hugged Shen Shuiyan's waist, and passed her own temperature. The waist of the beauty she started with was very thin, and Xin Lan couldn't help but tighten. Xin Lan actually has a hidden waist control attribute, so deep that she didn't even notice it. She just clasped and loosened quietly at this moment, and couldn't help but clenched. Shen Shuiyan didn't notice the abnormality. She leaned on Xin Lan's shoulder, smelling the scent of shampoo. Clean, warm and soft. Shen Shuiyan and Xin Lan were close together, feeling the softness of his chest. When squeezing each other brings a wonderful feeling that has never been felt. Her body is so warm, Shen Shuiyan thought in a daze. Are you staying in Zhou Yunfei's team because of his strength? Well, I don't have much contact with him. In fact, Shen Shuiyan didn't have much contact with anyone, and the 2 students who usually met more often were not selected for this game. She hasn't figured out why these 400 of them were selected, just randomly drawn. Is it bad luck? Then I will grab someone from him tomorrow. Xin Lan seemed to think of something interesting and smiled. Seeing her expression trembled, 09 silently waxed the ex-boyfriend. Okay. Shen Shuiyan was a little puzzled, and a guess emerged in his heart, a little surprised, but it was not impossible to think about it. I fight harder than him, so you can stand on my side, right? I don't think I am important to you. Shen Shuiyan was sticking to Xin Lan, feeling Xin Lan's heartbeat, so he said. Although Xin Lan was soliciting her from the beginning, she really didn't feel how Xin Lan liked her. I like to deal with smart people. If you want to survive, just follow me. I will definitely be the final winner. Xin Lan said this arrogantly, but with a certain kind of determination. Even if she is a villain every time, even if the final outcome is death, she is also the most boss of the protagonist who has counted countless times. Even if she chooses to forget those memories, what is honed in battle after battle is the iron will of the soldier. Shen Chuyan leaned on her shoulder, the light in his eyes was extinguished. How do I think you just want to find a chance to beat Zhou Yunfei for a while? Thinking of their past, Shen Chuyan couldn't help but said with a chuckle. In this laughter, she also showed her answer. This is also a reason, I will not let him out. Xin Lan admitted carelessly, and said indifferently. Hate him so much. It's hard to say, he doesn't have that value in my heart, but people always have to pay for what they have done. Xin Lan looked at the dark night outside the window, thinking of those hollow eyes. What if you throw your ex-boyfriend to the ghost outside? It feels very interesting. Lingju felt that he could directly set up a monument to his ex-boyfriend, and glanced at the two people holding each other in Ji Li Ji Qi, and silently continued to chase the drama. The air calmed down, and the wall clock in the classroom made a slight sound. Feeling the warmth and smelling the fragrant fragrance of Xin Lan's body, Shen Shuishan felt a little sleepy. Xin Lan was not sleepy, her face was firm and cold in the dark night. She didn't sit down anymore, but lay down. Shen Chuyan lay facing her, one hand on Xin Lan's body. The long wait is the most boring, and the 09 enthusiastically asked Xin Lan if she wanted to watch TV series with her. 09, host, I have recently been chasing overbearing president. All in love with me, which is pretty good looking. Xin Lan, President, Tong? 09, we are the system. Of course, the boss in the system is the president. Xin Lan, if I refuse, it sounds like IQ is lost. 09, let me tell you the plot, this is all about the history of escalation. All started to be adorable, and then relying on their own wisdom brought excellent hosts one after another, skipped several departments, and finally reached the peak of all life and became the president and marrying the goddess. Xin Lan, let's watch it together. It was boring anyway. Xin Lan watched TV dramas with him, and found that the acting skills of Tongzi were pretty good. But, is the system so idle, there is still time to make a TV series? For her question, Zeroju gave a detailed answer. 9. The cumulative tasks and pass rate have reached a standard. Our system can choose to retire. Some will make movies, and some will devote themselves to various tasks as NPCs. Xin Lan, does becoming an NPC have the memory of being a system? 09, of course not, otherwise it will easily interfere with the world. Xin Lan got the answer and continued to watch the show with Lingju. At 12 o'clock, the bell rang, announcing the end of the hunting time. Shen Chuyan opened his eyes and left Xin Lan's body. The sudden loss of warmth made her eyebrows wrinkle. Xin Lan pulled her clothes off, looked at Shen Chuyan, and took her hand. The warmth of his palms made Shen Chuyan not help but glance at Xin Lan. The moonlight outside the window allowed her to see the beautiful face clearly. The expression on that face was dull, pulling her out. There was a strange feeling in her heart, very slight. Shen Chuyan thought, it must be too cold outside and Xin Lan's hands are too warm. When Xin Lan walked outside, she couldn't see the two ghosts anymore. She walked a few steps forward, saw the padded jacket with water pipe sinking on the ground, and picked it up. Shen Chuyan hugged it in his hand and did not put it on. She thought that the padded jacket had just covered the head of the earless ghost, and she had no idea of wearing it. Fortunately, the teaching building in the dormitory was not far away. Shen Chuyan and Xin Lan ran back and arrived soon. Two people went up the stairs from the same side. The stairs here are closer to the Shen Chuyan dormitory. See you tomorrow. Shen Shuiyan waved to Xin Lan, and Xin Lan nodded. The knock on the door sounded at night, and Shen Shuiyan knocked several times, but no one opened the door for her. Shen Shuiyan knocked again, and the person in the door seemed determined to pretend to be dead, but did not open the door. A sneer appeared on the surface of the sinking water smoke, and he knocked twice with great patience. It's better to go to my dormitory to sleep. Xin Lan hadn't left since she knocked on the door, and when she saw that the door of Shen Shuiyan's dormitory was not opening, she said, "Thank you then. Little things." Xin Lan knocked on the door, and soon someone came to open the door, first cautiously revealing a crack, and when he saw that it was Xin Lan, he opened it. Xiao Chun looked at Shen Shuiyan behind Xin Lan curiously, and went back to her bed. Tao Ling also came back, her right hand was splinted, and her left hand was wrapped in a bandage and sat on her bed. Xin Lan went to bed and took off his clothes. Shen Shuijia put the quilted jacket on the chair, and also took off his clothes and went into Xin Lan's bed. The two lay in the same bed. "Before I go to bed, I have a very important thing to tell you." Xin Lan lay a little inside and looked at Shen Shuishan seriously. "What? Don't wake me up at will, I don't want to get up tomorrow morning and see you missing arms or legs." "Shen Qian. Is this a threat? Just intimidate. The author has something to say, so this is a love between man and system like Sister Lan's pick. I'm going to invite a navy to Sister Lan. The content is as follows: Sister Lan is the most handsome and Xiao is the most offensive. Ha 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 ha.